As families get ready for the 4th of July fireworks, some veterans are bracing for something very different. Clinical psychologist Dr. Timothy Swigger works with veterans across West Virginia. He says loud booms, especially when they're unexpected, can set off the brain's threat system. The body can react as if it's back in combat, even when the veteran knows they're safe. Swigger says loved ones may notice subtle changes before things escalate. A veteran might get quieter, scan the area, or start pulling away from the crowd. Families can help by staying calm and offering support without putting them on the spot. Swigger recommends asking one question that keeps the focus on help, not blame. He says it can make all the difference in whether someone can stay and enjoy the night.
One of the biggest things that I do recommend with families when I'm talking with them isn't always to ask the question, what is wrong? Normally what I will have families start to do is they'll reframe that and say, what do you need from me right now? Sometimes there's nothing wrong. Maybe they're just really enjoying the event and they're taking it all in. Other times they may be very overwhelmed and they may need to step back. And sometimes that veteran may not know exactly what is wrong and what they need. And so just knowing that there's positive reassurance and a support network there, they're able to utilize that support network and maybe even stay at the event and enjoy the experiences with their family and their friends.
Swigger also encourages planning ahead, like bringing headphones or picking a meetup spot if someone needs to step away. He says grounding techniques can help veterans stay present without leaving the event. Visit our website, WTAP.com, to learn more about the warning signs and what you can do to help a veteran experiencing PTSD symptoms.